Well, hey, everybody, welcome to our first real edition of Another Fine Mess, a soon to be, no doubt, unsuccessful podcast with, with me, Roger Gray, and an old friend, Mike Vance. I'm up in East Texas. He's down in Houston. Michael, how are you?
Well, I'm not in Houston. We need to do that again.
Oh, that's right. You're in the country away now.
Yeah, and here you are. You started by saying this was our first real edition. We're less than a minute in. We're already putting bad information out there.
Well, that's been my job for what, half a century now in media.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I was part of the fake
yeah.
news. So there you go.
Well, I was too. A much smaller part,
Go
but
ahead.
I'm at an undisclosed location in rural Texas.
Indeed. And by the way, by the looks of the Facebook pictures, a very pretty place.
Yeah, it is. It is. We had
Yeah.
finally, after nothing but drought, which nobody cares about, but I will let you know anyway. We got 5 inches of rain while we were out of town. And when the dogs emerged from under the bed, everything was green.
It was yeah, we got some rain up here. It's supposed to rain for the next couple of days here. So hopefully this thing is broken. It's been bad for everybody. Let's get into it. Mike and I go back brief history. I was a partner in a radio station back in Houston. Mike is a Houston guy originally, and I was a partner at a radio station in the late '90s. 1997, we went on the air, and Mike, in all of my years of broadcasting, Mike was the only on-air partner I ever had, and by golly, the best. So,
There you go, rarefied
um,
air.
indeed, it's a relative compliment. I understand, but Mike, from a successful career as a comedian, humorist, which is what a comedian that's not working, something like that. Yeah, I've heard that definition.
Yeah.
To now a prolific author, particularly books on history. How many? 19, 20 now, something like that.
19 books that are not selling. So everybody who's listening needs to fix that.
Indeed, they need to buy a book. It's good stuff. Okay, we're going to talk politics. We're going to talk entertainment. We're going to talk sports. We'll talk, almost anything. But today, there is so much going on as of last weekend. Uh, the conspiracy theories about the whole White House Correspondents' Dinner shooting deal, uh, they are, I think I said in the piece I wrote this week, they're mounting up faster than the zeros on a gas pump right now. So what are your initial thoughts about what happened on Saturday night?
Well, first of all, this entire administration has lied repeatedly, more than is humanly possible, it seems sometimes.
You would have thought, wouldn't you?
So, the skepticism right out of the gate would be a natural kind of thing. I mean, first of all, ears don't grow back. We all know that.
Yeah.
So I think that somebody actually came in there. What has not been reported is that he never even made it, not only into the room, but on the same floor that everybody was.
Right.
He was on a different level. That Washington Hilton, I think the ballroom is basement level, I believe.
Okay.
So he came in on the street level, never made it off the street level, and immediately the call goes out for the ballroom. So that just
Right.
adds to the skepticism that was this all a setup. Now, some of it is really reaching the whole thing where what's her name, untruthful Barbie, jumped out and said, shots will be fired, and everybody's latching on to that. I mean,
Yeah.
come on, that's kind of absurd.
Yeah. She meant. Look, I'm not a. Suffice to say, I'm not a fan, but she obviously was talking about Trump is going to take some shots in his speech at the press. So
Yep.
verbal shots, I
But
should say,
to turn it
because he doesn't
around,
drink.
yeah, to turn it around to the ballroom is just unconscionable. I mean, come on. That just, first of all, is just the most predictable thing in the world. And secondly, reprehensible, where nobody's talking about gun violence. Nobody's talking about the fact that everybody's walking around armed. That doesn't come up, but man, we have to have a ballroom because Lord knows that.
Yeah, ballroom would have, so many tragedies would have been prevented by a ballroom. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
If Kennedy had been driven around in a ballroom in Dallas. So, well, and there's no doubting the guy intended to do something, and I know. I addressed this in an essay this week. Forgive me regurgitating some of that, but as far as the shooting in Butler, Pennsylvania during the campaign, yeah, the injury pretty suspect, but the kid was killed. He killed somebody else. He wounded a third guy. So
But do you
if it
really think,
was
Roger? Let me just interrupt for a second. Do you really think that
okay,
that administration would care at all about somebody in the audience getting killed? Because I don't. I think that if they thought it was good theater, then some random person being sacrificed is not going to slow them down at all.
okay. Granted, what you say is true. They no doubt don't care, but this would have been a tough one, and were it to come out, the explanations would seem lame. Lame is not even uh, encompass how bad it would work. And as far as what happened Saturday night, the guy on the golf course, he seemed pretty wackadoodle anyway. But the thing Saturday night, the guy texted his family with, they're calling it a manifesto, which is it's basically a confession with a lot of verbiage surrounding it. It's obvious he intended to do something. He intended to do something bad, and the even he commented that the security was laughable around the area. The guy, nobody anticipated. Hey, a bad guy might check into the hotel. He might not come in through the front door. And by golly, that's what he did. And he had the guns. He had knives. He was not subdued. He wasn't tackled. He tripped, apparently, according to witnesses. And then they jumped on him. He's a school teacher. Didn't like Trump. Okay, got it. So and a cop was shot in the vest. We don't know by whom. It appears the shots were all fired by Secret Service. So if it was a put up job, you're going to have to trust somebody to shoot you right in the vest. And I'm not sure. Guy on the run. I would say, as I wrote, he's a teacher. He's not Annie Oakley. So I think he really intended to do something. It didn't go well. But as you say, to turn this into a pitch for the ballroom.
Well, before we get
First
to
of all,
that, so you're saying,
there are more. By the way, there are more people at this dinner. There's like 3,000 people at this dinner. The ballroom only holds
yeah,
1,000. So
yeah. So which Mango Mussolini came out and said, "Well, I am, you know, Mr. Magic, and I'll make 3,000 people fit into a 1,000 seat room." They've been holding this dinner, by the way, at the Washington Hilton for years and years. So
yeah.
it's been going on for a long time without a
And
ballroom. I might add. It,
as everybody knows by now, this is the hotel that Reagan was emerging from when Hinckley shot him.
yeah. So in other words, there's just really no marksmanship whatsoever to be found at the Washington Hilton. Before we get on to the ballroom, though, I got to ask. You're saying that Secret Service is basically the Keystone Cops. That's what your
Well,
that's your conclusion?
look at the two guys who are now heading both Homeland Security and the FBI. And we don't know if it was, we assume it was Secret Service, maybe the FBI arrested the guy. I don't know. They were both there. I, it, it, the guy obviously surprised everybody. I don't know who designed this security screen setup, but it apparently wasn't designed well.
Well, they were tearing it down when the guy ran in, apparently, because everybody was already inside the ballroom. So,
Right.
I mean, that in itself is high on the stupidity list, in my opinion. That, oh, well, everybody's inside. Surely nobody else will come in at this point. So let's just tear
Yeah.
the screening system down entirely. Yeah.
Well, and there was an agent, as we've seen in that surveillance video, I assume from a hotel camera. One of the agents, that looks like it was the sign-in table,
Yep.
and one of the agents was leaning on it and just kind of relaxing. It looked like until the California guy ran past and ran very quickly. By the way, Trump did get that right. He was fast.
Well,
So
compared to the president, who's
yeah, well,
I
yeah,
mean, come on.
yeah.
So
Okay,
the ballroom.
okay.
He has been saying for the past several months that they have raised $350 million in private donations to pay for this. It was almost paid for in private donations. The list has not come out, but there have been leaks. Zuckerberg is on it. Bezos is on it.
No,
You know, it's all the people that have been, and I will use the term that I absolutely mean, blackmailed by this administration, threatened with all kinds of investigations if they don't step in and start giving money to various projects. And then it was reported before the week before the correspondence dinner, it was reported that the charity they had set up, the fund they had set up to fund the ballroom, had vanished. It had closed. No answer on where that money went, but based on everything else that this family has done, first term, this term, it went into their pockets. I mean, I think we can very safely make that assumption when you
and
watch the
there's a
record
Trump
behind it.
family history.
Yeah.
There's a Trump family history with charities as well.
Yes. Exactly.
A
So
charity
that money,
he and the,
yeah,
go ahead.
that he stole from,
Yeah.
and charges were brought. But
Hmm.
that money disappeared, and then Lindsey Graham, apparently thinking there was going to be a giant walk-in closet, says now that the taxpayers should pay for the $400 million, and he has made that ask. So,
Well, and who better who more unexpected than Lindsey Graham, who has become an incredible bootlicker. I don't know what they have on him. Well, I do know what they have on him, but you can depend on Lindsey Graham to to be on a golf course. There's a thing called the ball washer, and I'm afraid I would put Lindsey in that category. He's just shameless in the kissing up. So
well, they all are. I mean, the level
yeah,
of incompetence, and I mean, this is a whole other rabbit hole that we can go down, but they are all just shameless. But to stick with the ballroom thing, where did that money go, and why are we not hearing anybody ask the question where that money went? Now, there are still a few Republicans, from what I understand, that are against spending this $400 million. But will that
and every
last?
Democrat, of course. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. That's you also consider the fact that whether it's a bribe, people are paying for access People are paying for government consideration, government contracts, you name it. As a matter of fact, the construction company hired for the ballroom because it's technically privately funded. They didn't have to do competitive bidding. They've also been given the contract to repair a couple of public fountains in Washington, which is government paid, which does require competitive bidding, but there was no competition. They were
Well,
simply
and
given the contract.
on top of that, the estimate on repairing those fountains was $3.3 million. They were given a contract for $17 million. So,
Yeah.
again, kickbacks and bribes. And I will stick by there. Musk is paying for access. I mean, Musk is paying for government contracts. Zuckerberg, Bezos, all of the others have been threatened the same way that they're doing that to ABC right now. They are using government agencies to threaten these corporations' very existence. And that's why the money comes up, which brings me to a question. We know what David Ellison's politics are, so I don't expect that to change. But eventually,
And we should explain some of this. We also, involved in all of this, is the new conversation now about all the hateful rhetoric, which, according to the administration, all is coming one way. We all know that's not the case. And now the FCC has gotten involved. They're investigating Kimmel, for crying out loud. Can I? And I know you want to get into the Ellisons, but let me just say this: I did broadcast journalism for 56 years, right up until March is when I stopped working daily in radio news. My experience with the FCC goes back to 1970, and the FCC was there to make sure, A, you didn't drop an F-bomb on the air, you obeyed the basic rules of broadcasting, you provided a public service, and you documented that. In the old days, even rock and roll stations had news, for goodness sakes. So that's all been loosened. I've worked under the fairness doctrine, which was never a problem. If you have a gun control guy on, you have to have the NRA on. If you have a pro-abortion guy on, you have to have an anti-abortion guy on. It's the way that worked. Now it's been loosened. You have one candidate on, for example. If the other candidate asks for equal time, you have to provide it. That's where it is now. It's not a burden that any of us have a problem with. They never regulated point of view and speech. They never regulated, which is why you had Rush Limbaugh, for goodness sakes. So point of view, and we had Air America there for a while, the liberal counterpart, but point of view was never an issue. Now, apparently it is. They're going after Kimmel again, for goodness sake.
well, the FCC, one of the things that I read, and I don't know if this is true or not, because I didn't do a big dive into it, but the FCC does periodic reviews just to make sure everybody's in compliance, and ABC Disney was due for one sometime in the window between 2028 and 2031. And so this article that I read this morning said that they had moved that up out of that window over the Kimmel thing. But this goes back to the blackmail thing that I'm talking about. They are, just like they're trying to get money out of some of the other people, the whole Paramount merger thing was also eaten up with this, where there were, you got to give us money, got to give us money or we're going to investigate you. And this is, got to fire Kimmel or we're going to investigate you. So this is, it's blackmail. It is using government agencies to get what they want, completely disregarding the law.
And this is what has been done with big law firms, for example, that are on Trump's bad list. Law firms that might have been involved defending people involved with the Trump family or in prosecutions. It also, they're blackmailing universities. to get what they want. Uh, they don't like DEI, which I've never understood, Mike. It stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion, which means everybody's welcome. We treat them all the same, and you're all included. I don't find the problem with that,
Well,
but
it
anyway,
goes back to that premise of that white men are getting discriminated against because they no longer own 100% of the
yeah,
world. They only own 80% of the world. So that's gotta stop, Raj. And I mean that's what it all goes back to. It's
yeah.
greed. In
I
a
had
word, it's
a
greed.
I I had a producer in radio years ago who's black, and he especially liked some. We had a conversation on the air very similar to this, and it was back in the heyday of Limbaugh and all that, and we were discussing this whole premise that it's now reverse discrimination. What's happening? White guys are getting overlooked to give a minority a break or a job. And I said, I don't understand the problem. We still run everything. So we're not threatened here. We still run the joint. And he heartily agreed. We do still run the joint.
Yeah,
So
when I was up for
this
the
whole thing is,
when I was up for the part of Wheezy Jefferson,
yeah, I know. I know. Yeah. It's anyway. So yeah, suffice to say, it is blackmail, withholding grant, and by the way, the college, the university thing, universities have been a lot of the grants that they threaten to withhold are for medical research. Harvard Medical School, Princeton, Columbia, uh, all of the schools. UT, sorry, Mike has knuckled under, but
not as bad as A&M can.
it's
I'll,
well, hello.
I'll give you that.
I went to U of H. I don't have a dog in that fight, but it's going to hamper a lot of important research if they don't knuckle under, and it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. It is a free speech issue. I grant it. It is an academic freedom issue, and that's how the administration is playing it
I
to get their
I
way.
think it's a survival of the nation issue
Yeah,
because it goes beyond just the academic part of it. Doctors in general are in short supply. So between ending the entire National Science Foundation, eliminating the
which
board,
happened the other day.
yes. So between
He
things,
fired
yeah,
everybody.
between
It's been around since '52,
yeah.
something like that.
So things like that, things like shutting down all kinds of grants, and things like stopping immigration of people that are coming here to become doctors. So anybody who has been to a doctor, some of them are not native born to the United States, and yet they are
Yeah.
filling a very important need, and they are very good doctors. And now that
Well,
has been cut off. We have, I think, everybody, certainly people that get up to retirement age, have needed a specialist or needed to go see somebody, whether it's just to get checked out and cross something off the potential list. And you're calling in March and you're like, well, you're a new patient, so we've got an appointment in October, and then we can put you
yeah.
down for a wait list if anybody, which usually the wait list, if you live out in the rural area, is you get the call going, oh, it's 10:15. Can you be here by 10:30? Well, no, I
Yeah.
can't. All right, well, we still
It's
have you
like
down for October. So
it's like flying standby. Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, it's like life and death at that point for some people
Indeed.
because they can't get the appointment they need, and this administration is just making that backlog exponentially worse.
Well, this is a tangent. I understand it, but I have long been an advocate of single payer health
Yeah,
care. It is the way every other industrialized nation on the planet Earth does healthcare. It's why Toyota is super competitive because in Japan they don't have to worry about. I did some PR for General Motors a while back, and I recall talking to the guy in charge of their health plan, and he said, "It's absolutely it's a screwy system." He said, "Why should a birth, a pregnant employee and a birth in California cost so much more than a birth in Alabama?" He said,
Well,
if we priced our, if we yeah,
there are
if we
doctors
priced
involved
our
in
cars,
California. I mean, come on.
well, yeah, but he said if we priced our cars that way, there would be an uproar from the customers. No other business can do that kind of thing, and it just makes sense. But one of the arguments against single payer has always been, well, look at your wait times. Look at your wait times now.
Yeah.
I
We
mean,
we are getting
it's
worse
like this is better.
outcomes. We pay the second highest as far as output, as a percentage of income toward medicine,
Right.
is you can barely see them from the spot we are way up high. And yet our outcomes are worse than almost all of those other countries. Our life expectancy has actually dropped. And that's the first time that has ever happened in U.S. history. Places like Mexico and countries that this administration love to make fun of have better records for things like, I don't know, child death rate than the United States does. So
Oh
our
yeah.
outcomes are not good, and we're paying two, three, 10 times as much as
Yeah.
other countries.
Yeah. If indeed you can afford it, or if indeed you have insurance, which is another thing they'd like to. What little government insurance we have, they'd like to cut that. It's and we'll get off this here in a moment. But in France, for example, which is acknowledged to have one of the best healthcare systems around, when an ambulance comes to your house, the guy that walks in or the woman is not an EMT, it's a doctor. That's the law. The ambulance has to have a doctor, an MD on board. So tell me we're better than that,
Well, we're not.
and explain it to me like I'm a child. Yeah.
Although there's a much better French ambulance joke than any American ambulance joke I've ever heard. But
So, and by the way, I have copied your French accent every time I've had to. Well, I never have to do one, but anyway, let's move on to another event this week, and that is maybe if you put this in an episode of Perry Mason or The Defenders or any other lawyer show, L.A. Law, you name it, it would be laughed, and it probably will be laughed out of court. And that is the latest indictment of James Comey, who I have very mixed feelings about, going back to 2016. But he posted on Instagram, we've all seen it. He was walking with his wife on the beach, and he says he stumbled on it. I'm sure he didn't. He arranged seashells to spell out 8647. So, really? That's a threat.
well,
86 means to get rid of something.
yep, and it comes from the
80,
restaurant
86
industry.
that.
That's where,
The restaurant, yeah.
yep, that's where it comes from. So all of these pansy ass elitists that have never worked a food service job are the ones that are, well, that means to kill somebody. No, it doesn't. It means you ran out of the special of the day.
Yeah, 86 the soup
Yeah.
tonight. Yeah.
We have no more veal in the house, Andre. So yeah, that's one thing. But Pam Bondi just got fired for not sufficiently going after the Orange Stain's enemies, and whoever is auditioning for the job at the moment, I think that changes by the hour. They're trying to outdo one another in, oh well, I can come up with a charge. So they're charging that he's threatening him by posting a picture of seashells on a beach in North Carolina.
Um, I, Mind boggles that they're actually saying this with a straight face, which has to be the most difficult part of this whole thing, because the prosecution's going nowhere. This is not going to happen.
When, and we've been asking this question throughout the first term and for now a year and 4 months, when is somebody going to grow a spine? And I understand that this time around, he went out of his way to hire people that would do whatever he said. And even
Yeah.
the ones that he hired with that in mind, he has started firing them because they're, in one case, embarrassing him, and in another case, not sufficiently kissing his ass. But when is somebody, you've seen it from the military, some of the military people have stepped up and said no, absolutely no, and they get fired.
They get fired. Yeah.
But
I mean, officers with decorations and careers, long careers, combat experience. I mean, Hegseth began by firing the head of the Joint Chiefs, who was a decorated fighter pilot, a general in the Air Force, and black. So there's your problem.
it really is a race to the bottom as far as how low and how completely without ethics, completely without courage some of these people can be. Mike Johnson certainly pops into mind.
So it's this is going nowhere. This is obviously not going to happen. I again, I even conservative, even Fox, their legal expert, is saying no, no, this is going to fail badly, embarrassingly. The indictment's an embarrassment to begin with,
Yeah. Well,
and Comey's going to make hay out of this.
I mean, every single day brings a new embarrassment and a new. We went to sleep the night before going, okay, they finally reached rock bottom. And
Yeah.
there's a guy that we both know that you went to college with and that I was a young comedian with named Steve Epstein. And
Oh
Epstein
yeah.
used to do such weird stuff. I mean, he would come up with these things that there was a theory among the other comics that he had a staff of writers that would work overnight going, hey, we can have Epstein come in with Preparation H and try to put it on in the green room in front of everybody. And then all the other writers were like, no, they'll never believe that. And then somehow they pull it off. So do you think there's this secret staff of writers that are going, hey, we could sue Comey over seashells? And the other ones are going, no, come on. Come on, that's really jumping the shark.
Well, and it's funny, Mike, you mentioned Steve Epstein, because let's be honest, so much of this, whether it's arguments over the ballroom or Jimmy Kimmel or the assassination attempts or all of this, the war in Iran, for goodness sakes. We don't need to point out that when Trump came into office in 2016, Iran had signed a treaty. And it wasn't just with us or with President Obama. It was with several European nations were a part of that negotiation, and Canada and Japan. They all had signed on and they agreed to it. And by all accounts, Iran was basically abiding by it. And the Strait of Hormuz was open and gas was reasonable. Now it's not. That treaty was thrown away mainly because it had Obama's name on it. And now we're in the middle of this war, conflict, excursion, whatever you want to call it. By the way, Putin will not call the Ukraine adventure a war either, which I find interesting. Neither one of them will call those actual wars. But people die and weapons, buildings get blown up and so forth.
Well, and they
So
admit that
we're now,
we've spent this morning. Hegseth admits that we have spent 25 billion, which means you could
Oh
probably
yeah.
double that or triple that as far as the real cost.
And we found out also that the damage Iran inflicted was greater
Oh
than
yeah.
had been reported. And I wrote about this as well, that the whole nature of war has changed with the advent of drones. Drones are cheap; they cost 20 grand, 20 grand to build a drone. The Russians are now using an Iranian design, building drones in Russia, and you can build so many that you basically just overwhelm defenses because a Patriot missile costs $3 million every time you shoot one off. Well, I can. How many $20,000 drones can you build for $1 million? I can overwhelm that easily. So the nature of things has changed. Back during the Cold War, there, the Russian and American theory was we had the best, most sophisticated of everything. Most sophisticated jets, missiles, yada yada. The Russian theory was we're going to build them a little cheaper, a little less capable, but we're going to build a boatload of them. And it turns out that overwhelmed with cheap stuff seems to be working right now.
Well, put a stick in the spokes of a bicycle and it won't go. And a stick is free. So there are always vulnerabilities. Speaking
Yeah.
of weapons, this is a bit of a tangent, but did you see the story of a corporal at Camp Pendleton that had stolen Javelin missiles and was selling them and the launchers? So this
I did not see that.
random corporal had stolen, I think it was 3 missiles and launchers and was selling them, which is, again, lacks security to say the least. But the question that I came up with when I read that was, who's the end user? I mean, is that some NRA dude that's sitting there going, well, we're really, that damn Smith boy down the street is finally going to get his comeuppance over that stereo. I mean,
Well, yeah. Seriously, though, probably it's a cartel, to be honest. And if that corporal had gone on Polymarket and bet that somebody was going to steal Javelin missiles, he would also be even richer. So
see,
there you
now
go.
I never even thought about that, but that's a fine idea. I need to start
Well,
doing
and
really stupid shit and betting on it before it happens.
that's it. And to bring this full circle, of course, Don Jr. Is what, an advisor. He's a big investor in one of the betting markets, and the family has a stake in it. He's an advisor, and he and Eric are big investors in a drone
Yep.
company. What, they just got a big $24 billion Pentagon
Yeah.
contract.
Yep.
So, surprise, surprise.
Again, I mean, there is not a crime family on the planet that would not trade places with the one that's in the White House right now, because it's corruption on an industrial scale that has never been reached before. And how these red hat wearing idiots, the ones that are giving birth in the back of a Studebaker in Alabama for $1.78, how they are not outraged by this corruption is just beyond me. But they're not.
For anybody, for anybody younger that might possibly be in the audience, Studebaker was a car company a long time ago,
Well, in Alabama, it was
when
a
Mike and
state
I were young.
back. If you
You
get
know,
into
but,
the
but
history books.
all right, you mentioned in an earlier conversation we had that I'm not quite as far to the left as you are. There have to be reasonable Republic. The Republican Party was always known as the eat your peas party. You have to eat your vegetables before you get dessert. That's just the way life is. Molly Ivins said let's see, we elect Democrats to give us stuff and Republicans so we don't have to pay for it, which I always thought was very perceptive. So we have an incredible national debt. It has gone up since since the bicentennial. In the last 50 years, it has gone up 40 times its size. It was $1 trillion in 1976. It is almost 40 now, which is insane. And that is through administrations of both parties. So nobody's hands are clean in this. So where is, as you say, the spine? When is somebody going to say, we can't do this, we can't go around invade? And now he's talking about Cuba, for goodness sake. Anything to get our minds off Epstein.
Well,
Let's be
and
honest.
the whataboutism, I will step in and no, nobody's hands are clean, but every Republican president during that time period has raised the debt more than every Democrat during that time period.
Sure.
That's a fact.
Last surplus we had was under
Yeah.
Clinton.
So that's a fact. The other thing is that it's not Social Security, it is not Medicare, it is not child care that is costing that money. It's wars and defense, which is discretionary spending, I might add. And this guy had all of the red hat people voting for him because he said, I'm going to stop all these needless wars. And what has he
Yeah.
done?
Again, to be fair, we can throw in recessions, we can throw in a pandemic. All of those things cost money.
Yes.
But we climbed out of the '08 recession. We got through the pandemic. By the time Trump was elected in November of 24, by that time, inflation was down to 2.4%.
Yep.
That's remarkable considering where we were immediately after the pandemic when we were short of everything.
Yep.
Cars couldn't even get the chips they need. Automaker GM and Ford couldn't get enough chips to build their cars. So everything was in short supply and expensive when that happens. We got out of that. We got through that. We got through the bank failures of '08. We got through it. It cost money, but we did it. And I think most people would say that's spending that makes sense. It's what you have to do to survive.
Yeah. And we should talk about chips, not today, but some other day, because that was a bill that passed under Biden, and it's still not taking off exactly like it was planned that we would,
Yeah.
lose our reliance on Taiwan for everything. Toilet paper, that's another thing entirely. Is why everything, the weather's going to be
Everything
bad.
comes
I
down
need
to
to
toilet.
stock up on toilet paper. It's, what, we have an eclipse? I need more toilet paper. So,
By the way, during that crisis, I actually ordered some on eBay because there was none at the store.
there's a
We got a package of toilet paper.
there's a story, and I just, since we're totally down the rabbit hole, we might as well start trying to wrap this up at some point on this
Yeah.
note. Hawaii had some sort of shipping crisis, and I think this was probably back in like the 80s or 90s or something, and the entire island chain could not get toilet paper. And there are stories about how they were rationing it, and you would be in a bar and you need to go to the bathroom, you'd have to go up to the bar, and in some places it's like you're leaving your driver's license. In other places they're tearing off 2 squares, and that's all you get. But you got to buy the beer first, you got to buy the drink, this is for customers only, but here's 2 squares. Good luck, use them however you wish, don't drop them on the way in there.
Be frugal. Yeah. Well, and we will wrap up akin to that. When there's a shortage of things, I was in Berlin when they were negotiating reunification, and I think it was Margaret Thatcher that said, the last time Germany got all unified, it didn't turn out well, but we were. I was with a group of reporters who were in East Berlin at a a restaurant where it was the only place there that could feed us while we had a press conference. And I went to the bathroom it was a restaurant at the bottom of a hotel, and there were no paper well, the toilet paper looked like Big Chief, writing tablet paper, with like wood chips floating in it, and there were no paper towels. There was a towel hanging on a hook above the sink, and when you touched it, you realized everybody in that office building had used that towel ahead of you. So that's how bad it can get. Yeah. You don't want to wash your hands.
I was supposed to go on a trip to Cuba this past December to watch baseball, and one of the things the trip fell through over an outbreak of dengue fever. But at any rate, they told us, here's what you need to bring, and one of the things was toilet paper. They said you cannot find it in Cuba, and apparently you can't find it in Chicago either if it rains.
All righty. And on that note, and by the way, we didn't even get to King Charles, for goodness sakes. But maybe next week. Michael, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Well, we'll have to do this again.
Let's try this again. And this has been
Another fine mess.
another fine mess. Yeah, indeed. Thank you, Michael. We will see you guys later.